Hi, everyone around the world. Let me tell you, it's not every day we get a special VIP guest, but today we've got a very special VIP guest. It's Plastic EP with a sensational Sabine. But coming in from America, we have the fantastic Julie Grant. How are you today, Julie?
I'm great. It's lovely to talk with you.
Thank you so much. And you've got something you want to tell everybody?
Let's go straight to the top of the charts.
That's it.
Go straight to the top of the charts. Go straight to the top of the charts. From 10 to 1, you gotta show number 1 when you go straight to the top of the charts. Top of the charts, top of the charts. That song's gonna climb to the top. When you go straight to the top of the charts. When you go straight to the top of the charts.
Julie was there on tour with the Rolling Stones, with Bo Diddley, with the Everly Brothers, and I believe Little Richard joined the tour. Tell us all about that tour if you can, Julie.
Oh, that was fantastic. It was just an amazing thing. The Stones, myself, it was our first tour. It was the Stones' first tour, national tour. It was for, I think, 27 days, and we toured all over England. Most of us travelled on the bus. Bo Diddley, Little Richard, Stones, myself. And my mummy was my chaperone because I was only just 15 and a half years old. Oh, and so my mother, Sadie, was my chaperone, and she went everywhere with me. In fact, I've got a really cute story to tell you. She was everywhere. She'd give Mick and the guys some money for fish and chips. We were all broke. It was our first tour. And many times she was always there in the wings watching the show. And one day Mick came up to her and he said, "You're here again, Mrs. Grant." And she said to him, "As long as there's villains like you, I'll be around."
I like that.
That's what she told Mick. He was great. They were all very, very lovely to her. They were wonderful gentlemen. They really were. Brian was a delight. I'm still sort of in touch with Bill Wyman. Not that much, but we did correspond. And so it's been, I would love to see Mick again. And Keith lives in Connecticut, but I can't seem to find him. So if you can find him for me, I'd love to say hello to him.
I can help you with that.
I'd love to see him.
Okay. Talk to me later.
I will.
Now, Julie, I've got to say, on the tour, where did you actually go around and how long was the tour for?
The tour, I think, was for 26 days. We started off in London and we ended in London. We went all over England. It was just great. The Everly Brothers had a limo, but the rest of us were on a bus. And it was great fun. We used to have sing-alongs and, it was just marvelous. It was such a treat. And the shows were dynamic and sold out. The Stones, of course, you knew they were going to be superstars. You just knew.
Now, Julie, I've got to show a few photos here, right?
Yeah.
I don't know who's taken these photos, and we don't take credit for any of the photos. And you may be able to see the photos or not, but this is your fantastic EP here. Julie Grant, Count on Me, and it's got you there with the staircase. Tell us a little bit about that cover.
Yes, the cover, it was a green dress with a black collar, and that picture was taken at Marble Arch. I don't know who took the picture, but we were doing a photo shoot that day, and I love that photo. That was an EP. That was it sold quite well, actually. I was shocked.
This is a photo with you that you have on your wall there with all the ladies. You got Cilla Black, you got Lulu, you've got yourself there, and you've got a few other ladies there. Do you remember all the names of the ladies?
I do. There was Susan Morn, who was sitting in front with a black and a white collar. There was Marianne Faithfull sitting in front of me. Julie, there's a lot of us, and we
Yeah,
all
that's
got
right.
together, and it was called the £1 Million Puppets. They said if you have to put us all together on a show, it would have cost £1 million. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was
Wow.
a
That's an amazing photo. Now, I've also got a great photo here. And this is the Everly brothers, Bo Diddley, and yourself. And you're the beautiful woman there holding Bo Diddley's guitar. How big is that?
I know, it's way cool, because many years ago, when I first started, when I quit singing, I was an agent. I started at Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, and I was an agent there. And I brought over quite a few stars who I had appeared with on tour back in the 60s. I had Bo Diddley there, and that was lovely to see him again. I had him in Atlantic City and at Mohegan in Connecticut. I booked the Trogs, the Animals, the Yardbirds, and just to see them all on the stage, and then knowing them all the way back from the 60s, as well as Denny Lane of the Moody Blues.
Amazing. And he went on to Wings. Now, Julie,
He
I
did.
just want to find out now about the Beatle connection. You knew Brian Epstein, and then I want you to tell everyone about your fantastic photos there. Just let's get into the Beatles.
Okay, well, I was on a program in England that was on every Saturday. It was called Thank You Lucky Stars. And on this one particular Saturday, it was Jerry Marsden, Jerry and the Pacemakers, and myself, Billy Fury, Mike Sarn, and a couple of others. Well, anyway, I got to be friends with Jerry. We used to call him Jerry Marsbar, with Jerry. And he said to me, he said, I'm singing on the weekends for the summer season in Blackpool on a Sunday. And I said, well, it so happens I am doing a summer season in Blackpool, and I'm off Sundays. I only do Monday through Saturday. So he said, you have to come to the show. So the following Sunday, I was off, and he invited me. And on the show were the Swinging Blue Jeans, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, and the Beatles, and Jerry. And that's how I got introduced to the Beatles. And I used to go every Sunday to see the show. It was just, they were just dynamic. And then one Sunday, they were drawing such big crowds at that time. One Sunday, they moved to the ABC Theatre, and it was packed. It was craziness. And I was stood in the back of the theatre with Paul McCartney's dad, James, and you couldn't hear a word they were singing. And he said to me, you know what, all this noise, they could be singing the bloody phone book and nobody would care. And then we went backstage, and it happened to be July 7th, and it was Ringo's birthday. And it was my birthday the week after, the July 12th. And he had a cake, so he said, let's share our birthday. And Brian Epstein was there. What a lovely gentleman he was. And I'd seen him a few times, of course, on the weeks before. And I said, do you happen to have any photos of the lads? I used to call them the lads. And he said, yes, as a matter of fact, I've just got some proofs here. And they had them taken by the photographer, Deso Hoffman. And he gave me 4 pictures, one of each of the lads. And they personally signed them to me. And I'm going to turn my camera around. I'm going to turn, and you will see them on my wall right here. I hope.
Yeah, we see him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All signed to me. And the pen ran out a couple of times. And John and Paul actually wrote on the back of the pictures. And I still have them, the originals. And these are copies, of course. And then one time I invited them after their show to come. I had an apartment with my mum and dad in Blackpool, and while the summer season was going on, and I invited them, and they came after the show very, very late, because they said they had to go back to Liverpool to pick up George's new car. So George and John, I would say, arrived around 1 a.m. with a beautiful silver blue Jag. And they came in, my mum and dad were there, and my mum had baked a chocolate cake that day. And John ate most of it. He loved chocolate cake. And on the doily of the cake, and I had them sign the doily on my scrapbook page, and it says, "With love, the Beatles," like we didn't know who they were. Love the Beatles, and then lots of love to Julie from John and from George. So I had the two, unfortunately, who have passed, and I have that doily to this day, and it's very treasured, very treasured. And that's my
That's amazing
sort of
there, Julie.
meetings with the
And
Beatles.
with Brian Epstein, tell us about Brian Epstein.
Well, he was always in the background, but he was a very elegant, I'm saying very elegant gentleman. And he adored the boys. He adored the lads. And they loved him too. They loved him very much. And that was a great loss when he passed away. He was a great manager and a great guy.
You must have some obviously really treasured memories, as you just said. But what really sticks out in your mind though still today? I mean, is there anything really that a highlight, or just something that really, it stays with you all the time? Obviously, all these memories do. But is there one particular thing, or time, or place, or anything attached to anything that you did in, on tour or TV?
Yeah, I mean, there were so many memories to be had at that time. Don't forget, I started at 15. My first record I was 15 years old. And Tony Hatch, who was my record producer, he wrote that for me, Somebody Tell Him. And I was signed to Pye Records for 5 years. I did 15 singles, 5 which were in the top 30, and 1 in the top 20, and 3 in the top 50. Just meeting everybody, and everybody was so kind. It's a small island. There was never any jealousy or animosity between any of the groups. We used to meet for tea on the M1 on the way back from tours and stuff. And then our favorite place to go was, one of our favorite places to hang out was, it was a couple actually, the Cromwellian Club. And that's where Jimi Hendrix used to play. In fact, my guitar player was which when I did tours, my guitar player was Noel Redding, who later left me to go to Jimmy to play the bass for Jimmy. And I remember saying to him, "What kind of a career move is that?" Well, we all obviously, I should have swallowed those bloody silly words. But anyway, he was great. So we used to see many wonderful groups at the Cromwellian. And then we all used to go to a place called the Bag of Nails. There was another nightclub. And then the Scotch Club, the Scotch of St. James. That was great. I was actually at that time dating Mike Pender, the keyboard player for the Moody Blues.
Yes.
And just a short time. But we all used to go to the Scotch of St. James. And I pretty much think it was John Lennon who invented the drink that we all used to drink. And that was Scotch and Coke. Because none of us really liked the taste of the Scotch, but we loved it with the Coke. So we had Scotch and Cokes. And to this day, one day I booked Denny Lane for a show. And the first thing we did, we went back to the bar and we ordered Scotch and Coke for old times. So I have wonderful, wonderful memories, all just fabulous memories.
And so, of all the hits that you had, I mean, Up on the Roof, I mean, we all love that, and we all love the original version. But your version, you put a twist on it.
Tony Hatch decided to make it like a dance record. My favorite is still the Drifters version, although Kenny Lynch's version is wonderful. And but they made it faster. They speeded up my tempo, and they made it like a dance record. I think that's why some people really liked it. And to have a girl sing that song is crazy, because it was meant for the Drifters. But that was the twist. It was a dance record.
the Everly Brothers and Bo Diddley. Just tell me how it was with them on tour.
Oh my God, it was fantastic. It was fantastic that we all used to like do harmonies backstage in the Everly's dressing room. On drums was one of the most famous drummers was Jim. And unfortunately, he's still in San Quentin. He killed his mother. It's a terrible thing. He went on to go with Derek and the Dominoes after the Everly Brothers tour. And he was an amazing drummer and stayed a really, really good friend. Jim Gordon. But the tour was great. And then Little Richard joined at the end for a few.
Yeah,
and
what was
he
that
was
like?
dynamic. Oh, he was dynamic. He was a lunatic. We all loved him. And of course, the Stones adored Little Richard and Bo Diddley. That's who they used to look up to when they started their own music.
Yeah.
And so it was an amazing tour. 1963, an amazing tour. And Mickey Most was on in the beginning. He ended up being the producer for Lulu.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And also Hermits.
And Susie
Yes, he did a
Quatro.
few for him.
Susie Quatro.
Oh, he did. Yes, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah, he died at a young age. He's been gone quite a time. I was just thinking, we were talking earlier about the loss of Jerry and the loss of Jerry last year, and then my lovely, lovely friend who I miss dearly. I was talking with him often, Spencer Davis.
Oh.
Spencer. He was quite sick for a time, but he lived in California on Catalina Island. And whenever I was in LA, I would see him. But he passed away this year too. Actually, I was quite disappointed when they had the Grammys on. They just sort of didn't do a very big thing about Jerry or Spencer. And they were the beginning of a lot of amazing music in those years. And they sort of passed over on them. And I was disappointed in that. But it's not up to us to do those programs. But everything, all of those years from 62 to 67 was dynamic. And then, like I said, I moved to Germany. The era of the girl singers was pretty much gone in 67. It was all the Who and groups. So my manager suggested that I join this family group. They're Spanish. They were Spanish, called the Zaras, and they were from Pamplona, Spain. 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and I was the lead singer. And I joined them in Germany in 67, and we toured for USO for 2 years. And then we got a contract to come to America. And so in 1969, April of 69 is when I first came to America, and we lived in Vegas. I eventually married the leader of the band, Marino, and we had a wonderful daughter. I still have she's living in Vegas. She'd never got on the stage singing. She always did what she was in the entertainment industry. She was assistant to the head of MGM Grand, the entertainment department, Glenn Meaders, and the Bellagio. She just finished up a stint with Caesar's Palace, and now she's with a new company in Vegas. And I'm going out May 17th for my first trip since COVID. I can't wait. I'm in a cramping position waiting for a gun to go off so I can get the hell out the door.
Oh, I'd love to get to Vegas. I'd love to get there one day.
Now, Julie, I'm going to ask you about Helen Shapiro. Did you know Helen Shapiro?
Yeah, Helen and I met. This is crazy. There used to be holiday camps in England, and you'd go with a family, you'd go with your family, and it was just a lot of fun, you know. They had different kinds of things to do in the daytime, and then at night. Then they happened to have a talent show, and Helen was sharing a room with me, and she joined the talent show, and so did I. I remember singing Connie Francis' song Mama. I was, how old? I was 14 and a half. And I don't know what song Helen sang, but we got along real well. She was lovely. Now, I won the talent contest and she came third. But we stayed in contact. We actually exchanged records. And many, many years ago, I got a CD from her. She does religious songs now, I believe, and still lives in Leeds. But she was lovely. And they always used to put in the newspaper that we had a feud. We never had a feud. One time, in fact, the dress you mentioned from my EP, that green with the black.
Yeah, here it is.
Right. Well, her and I were on at Wembley Stadium for a New Musical Express big show with the Stones, you name it. Everybody was there. And Helen and I were on it. And we walk in the door and we got the same bloody dress on. She had the same green dress as I did. We didn't change. We thought it was a lot of fun. We thought, but there was never a feud. There was never
Julie,
a feud.
Did Helen ever talk to you about the Beatles writing the song Misery for her?
No.
Okay.
I
Do you
don't
know the
remember
story
that.
there? What happens is the Beatles wrote the song and wanted to give it to her, and she never ended up getting the song and she never recorded it.
Oh, that's terrible.
Misery, you know the song.
Oh, sure I do.
Misery. A great
Sure.
song.
Sure,
Off the Please
actually,
Please Me album. Now, I got to ask you about the first couple of songs you recorded.
Yeah.
Tell me about the process and where you actually recorded them. What studios?
the first 3 songs of mine were recorded in Lansdowne Studio in London. And at that time, recording was totally different than it is now, of course. The singer sang it in the box and the orchestra played, and you did it live.
Mm.
And I actually got an award from Pi Records for the least amount of times we had to record it. Because, of course, if you made a mistake, you'd have to start again. And if you've got a live bloody orchestra, it can be very expensive. But then a couple of the songs I did record with a microphone right on the floor in the middle of all the orchestra. And that was great. The live feeling. I loved that. I really, really loved that. In fact, on a session guitar player at that time was, oh God, a senior moment, excuse me.
Was it Jimmy Page?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, Jimmy's on a couple of my records. He was a session.
Wow.
And
Rock
big-
God.
Yeah, it was amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
And then
but,
the other songs, where were they recorded?
they were recorded in Marble Arch at the Pi Studios.
My studios, yeah. And,
Yeah, at Marble Arch, where
Yeah.
a lot of records, big star records. I think David Bowie recorded there. Quite a lot. The Searchers did all their songs there. In fact, I've stayed in touch. My best friend, Frank Allen of the Searchers. Actually, I'm going to email him after this and see if he would come on your program.
Yes,
He is fabulous.
There's a fantastic anthology of yours here. I want everyone to see this and go and
look
buy it
at
on
that.
the net. Don't wait. It's Julie Grant. Come to me, the Pi Anthology. You got to
Wow.
go out there and buy it and listen to Julie because it's such an amazing CD of all her work. And you've just got to hear it. You are in the golden age of pop, Julie. You're embedded in pop history. And I must say, the Rolling Stones have said so many great things about you. How did that come about? You made such an impression on them.
I don't know, maybe because I was so young. I was only 15 when I started touring. I think that had to be it. I think that's what it was. And it's funny, I do have to mention, and like I said, I'd love to see them again. I'd love to see Keith and Mick. When I left the Zaras, I left the Zaras in 77 and moved to Connecticut from Las Vegas with my daughter, Jordana. And I met a record producer at the time and he was actually at the time the road manager for the Carpenters. And
Yeah.
I met David. He was my record producer for a year. It was totally platonic. And then he did a world tour. He left for about 2 months with Isaac Hayes and Dionne Warwick. They went to Australia. They were in Melbourne and Manila and Hong Kong. And when he came back, we decided that there was more to it. And he had 2 sons from a previous, and I had my daughter Jordana. And we decided we didn't want to date. And we got engaged that night, and we were married. We were married June the 11th, 1978. And I remained married to this wonderful, wonderful man up until December 14th of 2019. He passed away over 16 months ago. He was instrumental in the agency. He started it, and we called it English Wolf Music. His nickname was Wolf, and to this day, English Wolf is still in
running.
action.
Yeah.
Still in action. We had a year of nothing happening, of course, with the pandemic. I pray to God and I thank God that he wasn't around for the pandemic, because that would have been disastrous.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to see him, and the loss of the business that would have killed him alone, because he loved the music. But anyway, English Wolf is coming back, and I joined Mohegan Sun Casino October 15th. And it'll be 25 years that I'm still an agent there. And they just called me the other day, and the Wolf Den is reopening with local bands for a Friday and Saturday. And I will be having them booking back there again after 25 years. So it's a credit that English Wolf Music is still alive and well.
Brilliant. That's going to keep you busy.
I think so. And then also there's a band that David and I managed. I'm an agent for them now. I don't manage anymore, but I'm an agent for them. They call Rubik's Cube. RUBIXKUB.
What a great name.
Yeah, they're the 80s tribute band. Go Google them.
I want to know about them.
They're the best 80s tribute band. They're out of New York City.
Oh, I'm there.
They're the best 80s tribute you've ever seen in your life. Sherry and Scott and the whole band. And yeah, so that keeps me busy too.
So
And
you have a
it's
lot
good
on your books, and do you have a lot of artists on your books at this present time? If you...
Oh, yeah. Well, they usually call me. I even booked Aretha Franklin at Mohegan Sun before we actually had the arena. She was playing in the bingo hall, which is bizarre, but she was fantastic. And I had Dionne Warwick there, Shaka Khan.
Legends.
We got to go back to London now. Did you come across the Dave Clark 5?
Oh, very often. In fact, I knew Mike Smith very, very well. In fact, I played in when he passed away. He had a terrible fall in Spain, where he lived, and there was a tribute show for him, raising a charity show for him and his family. And I went to New York, and I was there with Margot from the original Goldie and the Gingerbreads, and Peter and Gordon were there, and we were all there to pay tribute to Mike. So I knew Mike very, very well. He was a wonderful young man. He died too soon.
Yeah, I actually interviewed Dave Clark in 1986 at his Mayfair plush apartment when he was doing Time the Musical with Cliff and lead role, and then David Cassidy stepped in. And I'm big fans of both those guys. And Dave was very gracious with his time, and he really gave me a great interview. And I would love to link up with him again and do a follow up. But no one's kind of seen him anymore. We think he's in London.
He's very reclusive, so I heard.
Yeah, but it would be nice to link up with him again.
As I said, I want to thank you so much, Julie. And let me tell you, I want everyone to go out there. Go on the net now. You don't have to wait. Look up Julie Grant. Listen to her songs. Watch the clips. make sure you buy this Pie Anthology. Julie Grant, come to me, because you've got to actually hear the songs, to live the songs, to understand the songs. And stay there for a minute, Julie, and we can't thank you enough for
Yeah.
being on Go Straight to the top of the charts.
Thank you
It's
so
all
much,
been my
Julie.
pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I'd like to dedicate this to my daughter Jordana, my son David Jr., and my other son Dwayne, and all my grandchildren, Hannah, Noah, McKenna, Liam, and Cole.
Go straight to the top of the chart.